Welcome to Stew in the Nut, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show's sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinUpsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stewinthenun.com.
Shut up and sit down.
And the music has shut off. That means it is time to talk. You got the nun here. Stu is around the room, and we got this guy, T. Cox, also known as Terrificox, at Recon Sniper USMC. We are broadcasting live from the new Southern Studio.
The new
Southern Studio. We're up here in the world headquarters of Veteran Outdoors.
World headquarters.
Yes. In Georgetown, Texas, and we are all together. Troy is in town, handling the biznatch. Because he's like actually serious in business, and
I do some things for people. But I also do the show with you.
Yes,
and we love it. And we love it because we got great sponsors and great guests. We got great sponsors like Veteran Outdoors. These fine-looking hats that you see.
Not wearing one.
Not wearing one.
Because he represents another great company, 511. We gotta give him a shout out.
Always. We'll give him a shout out. One day it'd be. Yeah, one day maybe.
We'll give him a shout out. We'll give him a shout out.
When he's here, we definitely give him a shout
out. But most importantly, huge shout out to Enlisted 9 Fight Company. Always got our back, and sometimes they got our six.
Right there. Or six, right
You
there.
look for these fine designs and T-shirts on Enlisted 9 Fight Company. You can find them there. You can also find them on gruntstyle.com. Go to extras, click on Enlisted 9. You can see the entire collection and order through the Grunt Style system. We have a great show tonight. We are going to have a blast. It's great that the boys are all together. We're trying to get the boy band back together. Even though, Travis is not part of the band, he's kind of like Pablo from Nirvana. He went on tour with them, but he actually, wasn't in Nirvana, except he played just as many shows.
I'm good with that.
He just wasn't as sexy as the trio, he's not as sexy as the duo.
No.
Except we are no longer the Bald Brothers.
Yeah. Why is that?
Straight hippie here.
Would you be glad to know? My mom told me last weekend she really likes. I like Toby's hair. She really likes.
You know who else likes my hair?
Who?
Matt Burden.
Oh,
dude.
Well,
Matt Burden's showing me extra love right now because he's like, dude, I like the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Shout out to Matt.
Maybe he thinks the bald look is so 2008, 9 or something. I don't know.
Well, we were good in 2008, 9. That might have been the best years of our lives.
That's when the Transporter came out.
Was it?
Yeah, man.
So tonight we have Travis, geek of movie history. How many Liam Neeson movies are out there?
No idea.
But they all have to do with him losing his family members.
He's almost as handsome as you two. So,
dude, his best one is Love Actually, and he loses his wife.
He loses kids, but he is not a good parent. Or he needs everyone dummy corded to him.
One of the best lines I think Liam Neeson had is not I have a special set of skills. His best line is in Love Actually, where he's like, well, thank God you're not in here injecting heroin into your eyeballs. Parenting,
Yes.
done right.
That's right.
Old Fashions brought to you by America Bourbon.
And a fine bartender in Mr. Toby Nunn. Also,
I'm not going to set mine down. I'm just going to hold it in my hand.
I'll probably put it over here.
Yeah.
I've got
Keep
I've
bending
got a
over.
collection. Anyways, I want to welcome all of you joining us here on this Thursday evening, May 17th, for episode 124. And a little bit different. Glad a lot of you are joining, looking at the chat, which we're kind of doing off our phones.
Yeah, we're
to keep up with you. And
we're trying to get from Bush League to AAA. I told a really good Bush League joke the other day, and it went way over somebody's head.
They expect too much.
They expect too much. I don't think they understand like the depth and the layers to my humor. I'm not saying who didn't get it.
It was a stretch. It was a stretch.
I gotta say though, I do want to comment on your beard. You know, when we're not together, when we're watching each other or a video like our viewers watch us, we miss the close personal. You have this Cheshire cat whisker thing going on in multiple directions.
Yeah, dude, it's like
it is.
I had to go to an award ceremony with my wife last night, and I was trying to groom it. I was combing it out, and there was like, and it's only the white hairs that go wild. Like the ginger hairs, they're well behaved. Like they're non-stereotype. They're not stereotypical ginger hairs, right? Like they're actually, you can like kemp them. They're like, but like the white hairs, they're unkempt, kind of like Sun City. They're like out there wild and crazy. And I was like, I was like ting, 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 trying to count them up, trying to ginsu them.
I need to turn you on to some beard balm. It's my wife got some for me, a beard oil. You put it on, and it not only smells good, but it keeps your skin moist.
Let me guess, it's owned by a veteran-owned company.
It absolutely is. How would you have known such a thing?
No, like, because I don't think anybody but veterans make beard oils, coffee, and good whiskey.
That's
unless they're from Canada.
Yeah. Okay. And it's t-shirts. They make some good t-shirts and hats and other things like that.
Speaking of hats. Looking forward to the multi-cam hat that Enlisted 9 we hopefully should have for one of the next episodes.
Yes.
Pretty excited about that.
Yes.
Troy especially. You know me.
Because I still have the bald look going on, and I like a nice hat. Just to keep it, the sun is brutal. Can't go John McCain out there. You don't want the skin cancer.
100 degrees yesterday. How did you enjoy that? Yeah. How did you enjoy that?
I looked at the temperature back home where it was 68. And I'm ready to get home after quite a few days on the road. But no, it is still nice here when you're in an office all day and it's air conditioned, or in a nice car, it doesn't matter. But anyways.
I want to give a shout out to Brad Stripmatter real fast.
Yes. Because
he's texting me right now that he's like somewhere apparently with like one of my childhood heroes. And he's like, hey, do you know this guy? And he like lists his name. Perhaps you've heard of him, Marty Turco. And he's like,
no, I haven't.
Goaltender?
Oh.
NHL?
That Marty Turco.
Yeah. And
wow.
I'm like,
I was thinking it was an Army guy or something.
I was like, you know, like, you mean like Marty Turco, the NHL badass goalie? And he's like, yeah. Like,
what ifs? Like, yeah, of course.
Like, yeah. Have a good time, Brad. Hope you're not tuned in right now. And when you listen to it, like, they had a Marty for me.
Yeah. So hey, it's
maybe get something signed, a napkin, maybe a selfie that I can block your face out with, and like
a puck or something.
No, they don't walk around with pucks in the pocket. You know, like that's
hey,
like here I got a puck. The 0 pucks are given by an old. I think he's a Hall of Famer, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. We got Travis here because Travis is really good at social media rants.
Oh.
And we want to talk about some vet flake issues today. Thanks for the responses that we got. I really appreciated some of the private messages. Because, people are like, I don't want to offend the vet flakes by what I'm about to say. And I was like, I want to copy and paste this and put this in the comments because it's exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
And so, Travis, 2.5 years ago.
I'm going to handle some technical stuff, so keep going so people see me go.
Travis, a couple years ago, made a video in response to Colin Kaepernick. And that video almost went viral. It went pretty, I think like you got to go over 1 million for it to qualify as viral, right? Is that like the technical metric or something? But it was like in the hundreds of thousands of views. Yeah. It was globally seen. And Colin Kaepernick actually watched it. And so that was pretty cool. Or at least allegedly he watched it. it didn't affect him that much, but I thought you did a good job kind of explaining your position. And the reason we're bringing that up is not because we care about Colin Kaepernick. Like, I don't even think he has a
opinion.
job. Or is it? Well, I mean, everyone's entitled to one.
Doesn't even care about it.
Yeah.
Everyone has something else too. We don't really care to see that or know about that either. But.
Yeah. It's like that. I'm gonna bring some music up. It's like that Matchbox 20 song. You know, like I was like listening to the radio and wondering what you're thinking when I realized I don't care. It's one of the best lines ever in music. It's like, I was wondering what you're thinking, then I realized I don't care.
So we have Travis, the movie guru. We have you,
oh,
the music
yeah.
guru.
He
But
did
you're not
get
going
me-
to compete with Doug when it comes to
He did
music.
get me on some movie trivia the other day, which I was like, I had to look it up on IMDb, and then I was like, you're right. Damn it.
Yeah.
But we want to talk
He's
about...
got such an easy job. It's so chilled. He just sits around watching movies all
That's
day.
what it is.
Yeah, no, Chandler, if you're listening, no, the reason we bring this up is recently there's just been a rash, and I'm calling it a rash because it's an uncomfortable, unsightly affliction on the surface that usually leads to a deeper cause. But there's been a rash, like the proper use, of people, veterans, like going off on social issues like they are the utmost authority. And they think because they're veterans that they have the moral high ground and they are the end all be all of that message and that matter. And I want to call bullshit.
And that their opinion matters over everyone else.
Because they're a veteran.
Right.
Like they play this veteran card and they're like, well, because I'm playing this card, it trumps everything that you could possibly say or believe.
And Duffel Blog they do a good parody every once in a while. They'll do something, some kind of
brilliantly.
a story about that.
Brilliantly, yeah. Duffel Blog, I mean, that's probably one of the best. And it's funny how many times Duffel Blog stories you will see repeated on your civilian friend's page as they think it's actual news.
Yes.
And you're like, no, that's not.
Yeah, you can take your momentary I care about veteran fever and rage and just not repeat a satire that is absolutely true.
That's not good.
Let's worry about other things like 22 a day. Let's worry about real things that are problems.
Right.
And, anyways, I don't want to. We have a lot of topics.
We have a lot of things,
but
to
we
get
don't
through.
want to get. We have some things we want to hit on. So we'll keep going.
But I want to get on this real fast, and the reason why I want to get on it is because we don't have exclusivity. Just because you served in anything doesn't make you the moral authority on anything. It means you had that experience. It means what you experience in life is now seen through the lens of that. And your veteran status doesn't trump anything. So if like one of the comments that was in one of the, both privately and I think on one of the on the Facebook page, or maybe it was Twitter, was talking about guys with fireworks. There's guys in the neighborhood. There's this one dude in the neighborhood. He flashes his card, every 4th of July and every New Year's, and it's like, I'm a veteran, so I don't want you like firing fireworks. Yeah. I've written about this. You can find it. I think it's on like our blog or something like that.
And our past guest and good friend, an old soldier of mine, was commenting on that today.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
And it's like, just because you have this issue, and I'm gonna go ahead and say like you actually don't have that issue, and I think you're full of shit anyway. Whoever you are out there listening, tuning in, their Vet Flake guy. Like if you have that big of an issue with fireworks, get some Bose like noise reducing earphones, close the drapes, do some little Netflix and chill, man.
I think John put it good. Like go out and go camping. Like get away from, go out into the wilderness and go camping. You won't hear any fireworks. And if someone says, well, why should I have to go change and go do that? Then
well, why should I change?
Right,
exactly. Why should the entire country and culture, like our national anthem, stays, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air?
You think you're the first vet ever to have to go through fireworks? Yeah. Our fathers and grandfathers and all that.
Like proof through that our flags still there. You think they're talking about ordnance?
The amount of effort that went into going to a store, designing a sign, getting a sign made, going back, picking that sign up, putting that sign in yard. You could have solved this, and then posting it online. The amount of effort in that, and then to post that online just shows the motive. It
Right.
was an attention-seeking motive.
100%.
And if that was really an issue, go buy a set of headphones on Amazon Prime and they'll be delivered to you.
And those are the same people we talked about the other day. People that complain about one thing are the same people that violate essentially the same thing. So they're the same ones that complain about people saying your flag offends me. And like, I fought for that flag. You know, people say, no, you can't fly the flag, can't say the Pledge of Allegiance. And obviously those, we don't agree with those things, but people that do say that the snowflakes, as the classic term has been, these people are the same ones that complain about them and say, you know, I fought for that or I did this or whatever, but yet they don't want to allow other people their freedoms. You know, a job, and we've talked about this many times, there is no job, there's no profession or career or anything that justifies anyone to be above the law or better and can do no harm, right? We talk about it. 1,000 things, you know.
All men are created equal.
Right. You know, so you look at professions like law enforcement. You look at professions like a military. You know, there are people that screw up and are crapheads and they don't belong there and they violate people's trust. You look at priests. Amen. You look at people of the cloth, not just Catholic priests, people of the cloth. They do the same. There's nothing that, if you got that job, then you couldn't do anything. There's nothing wrong with you. It's the same thing. Just because you're a vet does not give you the right to trump on or stomp on anyone else's freedoms or anything like that. You know, it's called the freedom of expression, and they're allowed to do it. Awesome. Thank you for your service, but that doesn't give you anything over anyone else.
Have you seen the meme that says hard pill to swallow?
Yeah.
It has a little cartoon of a pill in a hand, and then it says, because you're a veteran doesn't make you better than anyone.
Yeah. No, like one of my favorite memes is like there's this dude like firing a saw over a wall. We talk about it all the time. We mention this meme all the time. There's a dude in Afghanistan, soldier or Marine, hard to tell, you know, from the uniform.
Well, that's a Marine one. They go with the One. Okay. So I'm gonna mute this one, and let's see if we got any better sound off of that. If anyone is saying.
If anyone can give us some feedback and ask if they can hear us now. Anybody? Testing?
We're
Testing?
Let's see anything going on here. Let's see.
I had it, but it was gone again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got sound. Yeah, we got sound. Okay, we should hear you now. Right? Okay. So. Yeah, we got sound back.
All right, we're
I
back.
don't know if it's good or not.
Woo! All right, thanks
Tell
everybody for bearing with us.
Tell people to comment. Ask us if the sound is okay.
If the sound is better, please comment. Shard there says sounds back. Bless you. Thank you. All right, so I have no idea where we left off when
You're really interrupted
when
by
we were
like
like
Bush League Tech.
by our I'd fire the producer if I hired him, or if he got paid.
Cut his pay in half.
Yeah, you know what that means.
One less shirt for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, like halter top. We'll be wearing halter tops next episode.
Half shirts. with Colton Smith and Eric Estrada chips. Motorcycle
yes.
Dazzle.
But all right, so we're back, and the reason we were talking about we're gonna end this line of discussion real quickly is that people like John Burke and this Graham guy, they get people all riled up, and they share like misinformation, and or the way that they see it, their skew. And, like, I'm going to use Tim Kennedy as an example. Like, they were going around saying things, primarily John Burke, that Tim Kennedy didn't say. Like, if you listen to the Lance Armstrong podcast, Tim didn't say any of that stuff. And they took, like, the snippet out of context and, like, tried to sound like he had said that. And he didn't. And I thought Tim, like, cornered him at the NRA and like, got right in his face about it. And you can listen to it on John Burke, where John Burke, like, tries to justify, like, his position, but he's like, it is what it is. Like, he like tried, utilizing something that Tim Kennedy did not say to promote himself as him being the moral authority on all people of like gun owners. Like,
So was it fake news?
100% fake.
Fake news.
100%. But like the fervor, and it was this whole thing. Like, and I was talking to people, even in our own chat rooms, even in our own Facebook posts, people were saying like, well, Tim Kennedy said that no one should own guns. Like, he didn't say that. And
It's the last dude. That was
yeah,
the last dude.
trust me.
Well, and then you listen to the John Burke interview, and he talks about how once suppressors legalized, he's okay with the automatics. It's taken completely out of context, and I think that they run with this on a social media platform to give themselves credibility, validity, relevance is probably the right word.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
what do you think it is? And the reason we're talking about this vet flakes, and as something I was trying to explain with somebody today, John McDonald, a former guest of the show.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain with him today, through comments and such, was like, what's the root of this? Like, what is it about us as a community where we feel like we deserve a layer of fandom, or we deserve a layer of infamy or famous, celebrity because of our service? Like,
something you did for, on average, 4 years does not give you a trump card for the rest of your life.
right. Yeah.
Well, I've told soldiers this.
I mean, you could have done it for 15 years. Maybe you only did it for a month in combat. Like,
But I tell people this all the time. My kids, employees, soldiers, you could do 1,000 things right. It only takes one thing to
undo all.
Undo it all, and no one even cared. You could have been an awesome soldier. You could have got medals for valor. You could have done all kinds of stuff. There are soldiers that have done that. There are law enforcement officers that have been recognized with awards in their area and all that kind of stuff. But then, hey, they do something to a child, or they do something unjustified or whatever, and that's all good. But that doesn't excuse you for this action. It's the same thing, in my opinion, as that. That's great you went over to do that. That doesn't excuse. In fact, if anything, that perpetuates this. We're a victim. mentality, right? But we all try to get away from the where people that feign caring about vets and vet issues would be like, oh, I'm so sorry to get I'm so sorry you weren't educated enough to get out of rack.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, that's why we see shirts with some of our good friends that make shirts, things that like, say, have sayings like, I knew what I was doing. It was, I don't need your apology or thanks or apology. I mean, I raised my right hand and I knew what I was getting into, especially if you came in or really listed after me. I mean, absolutely knew what you were doing. And you didn't do that to get a free 6-ounce steak at Applebee's or to, be on the top of the float or anything else.
Yeah.
You did your job.
No, there are definitely guys and gals that deserve to be recognized for their accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
I've met a couple where I've looked at them and I there's a young man I've told the story probably 100 times, maybe 1,000. Who knows about it. Then PFC Joshua Miller. Now I think he's a Sergeant First Class, Silver Star recipient, 9 April 2004, Mosul, Iraq. Like you sometimes you see things that you're just like, wow, that's above and beyond. We need to identify that person. And if someone wanted to put him on a parade, awesome. You got guys like Dakota Meyer, Sal Gunta, these, Medal of Honor recipients. Like, you want to put them on a parade? Like, all right. So some of these other guys, that didn't get the awards but did some pretty impressive things that people know that they did them. Give them a moment of acknowledgement. Give them a moment of gratitude. That's awesome. And I love when people take the time to thank somebody for doing something that they might not be willing to do. I love seeing that. I think that's great. But I don't think that's a card you can pull out of your wallet and swipe.
It doesn't give you credit to do anything else.
Right.
The other night I was coming to the airport, and I was using military leave. It kind of makes things very easy to get the TSA. And, I use that. And I shook his hand out, TSA agent said, hey, thank you for your service. And I said, dude, thank you for yours. My job was for enemies overseas, and I said, your job is for enemies right here trying to kill us all the time. It's like, dude, thank you for your shit. That's all it takes. I mean, I think I've had, right after the wars started, and some of my soldiers were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, or Iraq initially, and they weren't used to like people thanking them, especially in those early days of 02 or 03, right? We're in 04 when people going out of their way. You had the ladies in Dallas and Maine that were there to hug when they came off and shake their hands, and they walked into the Atlanta airport, and people were just like going out of their way for them. And some of my young soldiers would be like, hey, first, what do I say? I said, just thank them. And I get it. And maybe saying it makes you kind of feel weird. People go, hey, thank you. And that's part of that. Okay, cool, and I appreciate it, but what do you say when someone says, everything you're doing is awesome? And I would just say, just thank them. Say, hey, thanks for recognizing that. That's all you got to do. And I think that's stuck with most of them. But a lot of them really didn't know how to react, and they never planned or they ever assumed they would get this kind of recognition and gratitude. And what I would tell some of them when I talk to my company or things like that, or I have a group of them, I'm like, just remember that a lot of this comes, sadly, it births from the guilt of how our veterans, those walking for you, came out of Vietnam. And that's really,
for sure.
Honestly, that's where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
This country recognized its mistake, and the mass people of it, and they were like, we're not going to make that again. Pockets, whatever, may have made just whatever, people are idiots, but for the most part, this country did another. And I said, always remember that. So when you see that guy, that has a Vietnam vet hat,
dude,
right?
For sure.
You don't know what he did. Maybe he was a supply dude back in wherever, or maybe he was out there, but it doesn't matter. Remember thank that guy too. And anytime you see someone that looks like theirs, whether you're in uniform or not, thank them. Right? Why don't they deserve as much as you do?
Let me ask you this question. So we get more thanks nowadays because of what the Vietnam veterans went through. I think it's fair to say that what our current law enforcement officers go through in today's society has some similar parallels to what our Vietnam veterans went through as far as how certain people in the community will treat them.
Yeah.
But I don't see police officers playing that police card to say, oh, I know trust me, I have the opinion. I'm the end all with this opinion. I don't see that happening in the first responder community. I think that's a very interesting phenomenon that's happening specifically in the veteran community and not happening in law enforcement. And in the same parallel, I think that we have got to go out of our way to thank first responders the way that we are thanked.
So I think there's two layers to that.
Yeah.
The first layer, first responders, primarily law enforcement, they're not doing and saying things like that because they're still doing the job. Right? So,
I think they look at it as a career too.
yeah.
That's
So like they're, be it the beginning of their career or the end of their career, they are still doing it.
Right.
They have a badge in their pocket that identifies them as a very special group of individuals within our nation that are sworn to do a task. They are carrying the means to do that 24/7. It doesn't matter if they're in the grocery store with their family buying macaroni and cheese. Like they have a communal responsibility. So they're not going to violate that because they're, for the most part, the utmost of professional, and they understand the oath and the obligation that they have. So, in comparison to a lot of veterans that are back, that they are relieved of their duty, they've been discharged, and they have the freedom to say whatever they want. These guys like John Burke, this Grant guy, that does the Rant Nation TV or whatever, they wouldn't be doing and saying the things if they were still on active duty.
Yeah.
You have that one dude that's actually quite funny, Mr. Obnoxious. I don't know if you've seen him at all. He's he's actually pretty funny, and I'm surprised at what he's kind of getting away with. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, good for him because he's handling some issues with some pretty decent humor. But like for the most part, with the exception of highly popular people like Tim Kennedy and some other guys, Colton Smith, well, Mike's out now, Simpson's out.
Yeah.
Those guys that are in, they're getting attention that they normally wouldn't get. But like for the most part, guys and gals that are in are acting with a level of professionalism that's becoming to their service. Like one of my favorite lines when you would hear someone read the orders of a citation of an award is like, brings great credit upon. That line right there is like, I remember my dad as a kid in Canada, no affiliation with any kind of military or American service or anything like that, would say like, you need to act in a way that it brings credit upon our family, brings credit upon our name. So when I hear that line, brings great credit upon, it warms my heart because I'm like, okay, this person really is on the home team. This person really did the right thing and respected the uniform and understands the history and understands the heritage, understands the traditions, understands the value of that. And law enforcement officers, they're still out there doing it day in, day out. So they have to hold back. There's a video out there of a guy in a Navy uniform up against a riot police officer or a police officer in riot gear, and he's got the face mask on, the riot face mask, and the guy in the Navy uniform, he's got a bit of a beard, and he looks suspect in terms of his daily service, maybe he's a reservist or maybe got out and he's wearing the uniform because it's part of his identity. And he's sitting there and he's chastising, he's insulting, he's screaming at this cop. He's calling the cop names. He's talking about how he faced Somali pirates or he saw a Somali pirate one time or whatever. And it's like, okay, dude, one, you're talking about guys in little banana boats, and you're in the best Navy in the world. I wouldn't use that as a validating on your badassery. Yeah. But that cop doesn't respond. And I think that because they have a job to do, and we expect them to do that job. You don't raise your right hand, sign your name, and swear to be an officer of the law so that you can run your mouth and follow a political or a celebrity means. Name a famous cop. I mean, the only guy I can think of that's like a famous cop is Clark, Sheriff Clark.
Right.
And, but he's like
Sheriff Rock in Arizona too.
right,
Yeah.
but like neither one of them are in a official capacity, right? So like they're pundits, they're law enforcement pundits now, right? They're subject matter experts for sure, but they're not like you're not seeing Chief Aceveda or whoever like going and saying things like, well, you might in certain settings in response to something, but for the most part, like no, like
they may not be famous, they may be known in the community, but they're not known outside.
Yeah, I mean, and so like I like the fact that they do that, and I think they deserve far more credit. Yeah, I think law enforcement and all first responders are the unsung heroes.
Especially you look at EMTs. You look at EMTs, what they see and go. Some of the reality shows out to show what they do on a daily basis. I mean, but one thing I just want to hit on real quick, you talk about to bring great credit, that statement in most citations. It's a double-edged sword. At the same time, they can bring great shame.
Oh, for sure.
In a heartbeat, right? If they do something, not only law enforcement, not only military, anyone that is an ambassador of what they represent. Right? How many times did you, whether you went on a field problem or you went somewhere to 29 Palms or you went to NTC, and then at the end of your rotation, maybe you got a day or two off, right? You get a day or two, a little on at the end if you deploy or go to a big field, or then you go overseas to do something. And I was saying, remember, in or out of uniform, they're going to know you're a soldier.
Oh,
and you are an ambassador. Do not freaking screw this up, right? Don't
no, one of my favorite things is when I was stationed in Korea, which we're going to talk about here in a hot second. Like, you couldn't do this. You couldn't wear your hat backwards.
Like civilian hat and civilian clothes.
Absolutely not. Like, if you were off base and you were to wear a hat, you had to wear it properly. Couldn't be this, couldn't be that, couldn't be backwards. If you were going to wear a hat, it had to be worn as designed. Because people look at you. The type of shirt that you had. You couldn't have anything that was obscene or disrespectful on your shirt. Your shirt must, be like in good taste, preferably with a collar. It should be tucked in. You didn't wear flip-flops. In certain locations, right. you wore like proper footwear. No, 2 out of 3 ain't that. But the reason for that is you're represented. I mean, in the Ranger, like who do you represent? It talks about, recognizing, like, yeah, that was for you. Yeah, but anyway, let's get down to Korea because
Are we talking about stories from when you were in Korea when I was in Korea? We don't have time for that, and this is
a family show.
It is. My mom's watching it.
Yeah,
I guarantee it's
my mom's not, but I wouldn't care anyway.
Nothing happened there. I wore my hat properly.
But in the past month, we have seen things happen in the peninsula of Korea that have not happened since 1950.
But I'm sure I never thought I'd ever see it.
Yeah. No, I thought there was a possibility, and this isn't due to media hysteria, this isn't due to anyone's actions, but I thought that in my lifetime I was going to see another Korean, like, more than a flare-up.
Right.
And that was born from my time of being stationed and living in Korea and knowing how the North behaves, being stationed there on the DMZ, up there near the DMZ, on the DMZ, you see how it happens, how it goes down. I thought, hey, in my lifetime, someone's going to get froggy enough to try something. To see what has happened, I remember when the Berlin Wall came down, and I remember all the media, all the coverage. I remember like the speeches and the rhetoric leading up to it. Mr. Gorbachev, I remember that stuff. From Canada, it was such a huge global event. I remember my father like showing me the newspaper and sitting me down at the kitchen table, and like it was the Province was the newspaper that we had. It was out of Vancouver.
we didn't get it till late in the day because I had to get flown out. And he sat me down. It's like, hey, you need to pay attention to this because this is a big deal. He had known people that had escaped. In fact, he had raced with motorcycles with a man that had left Germany and came to Canada, and he was like, this is a big deal. Korea's a bigger deal.
Yeah. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's not getting the recognition.
It's not on the news. People I was at the gym today, and they had 3 different televisions, 3 different stations on, and 2 of them were talking about Stormy Daniels, still, and the other one was talking about something completely irrelevant. I think they were still talking about.
Is that the morning news shows? The morning, yeah.
And it's like
my gym is the same. They have all of like one channel. It's all on.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so we have a president that probably stepped out of his marriage, took advantage of an opportunity that he had. Stepped outside of his marriage, took advantage of an opportunity that was presented to him
before he was president.
And demonstrates the fact that he's a human being.
He's fallible.
He's fallible. I don't condone certain rhetoric. I don't tolerate that if it's in my presence. I believe we need to respect our women. I believe as a father of daughters, you got to teach them their value. But with that said, someone that engaged in a relationship with someone of wealth for the purpose of gaining wealth, that sells themselves based on sexuality. I'm not passing judgment on your life decision, but there's no scandal there. Yeah. You're a prostitute, you're a stripper, you're a pornographer, that's your craft. That's your line of work. Okay, they call it the oldest profession. I don't see a scandal there. I don't understand why that's more important to talk about than the reunification of hundreds of thousands of families, 2 generations separated.
Let's bring it more closer. The return of frequent, not someone who comes back and dies because they're beaten to a coma.
Right.
3 people healthy that were held a lot longer being brought back and handed back over, no questions, no strings attached. Right, that's his current. That almost got no coverage. Right. I mean, it really did. I don't know what you saw here, but I mean, it was like, you got to be kidding me. When President Obama was on set with Bill Clinton over to get the 2 girls, it was 2 girls that were prisoners, and it was like, he was the great savior. This is why we gave the Nobel Peace Prize. He sent Bill Clinton to go get 2 women.
Journalists that weren't there for very long.
Right.
Lou, right?
And brought him back. And it was just like all his hoopla. This guy brought 3 guys back that were
probably hard labor.
Yeah, and one of them was much older gentleman. Yeah. And Pompeo were at Easter, did all under the cut. Didn't make a grand say. You didn't even know about it. I mean, the only reason we knew that there was even possible is someone in Korea saw the 3 of them getting moved into a hotel, and he went online and said something about it. It's a blog or something like that. If that would have happened, I'm not sure we would have never known anything until that point. Right, in D.C.
Right. But other than the tweet.
Right. Yeah.
Other than
but it was out then. It was out.
Yeah, but he doesn't list their names. He says 3 fine gentlemen.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it is, that brings on, besides the reunification, besides the possible denuclearization of the last known holdout of the most authoritarian dictatorship, where the only person that gets any inroads is Dennis Rodman. He was from Washington. He used to. But, it's translated. But, I mean, just, you're right, it doesn't get coverage. I mean, what do you see from your stance?
So, I watched Saturday Night Live this Saturday for the first time in a long time. They do the news segment. It's a
update.
Yeah, and I know it's funny, and sometimes it can be hilarious.
It used to be really good with Dennis Miller.
But they had a guy on there, and he started off by saying, okay, President Trump had a pretty good month. And just burned through Korea, burned through the return of those 3 gentlemen, and then turned it straight into orange skin and Cheeto skin and all this, and spent 10 minutes making fun of our president and the way he looked. And it blew my mind. I remember I looked at my fiance and I said, how is this even funny?
Yeah.
You know, we just saw in my lifetime the greatest act of peace that I have ever seen and probably ever will see. And we can't even give him credit for it. Or, well, we can, but people in the media are not.
No, like President Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize, and
6 months in.
and I to this day don't know what quantified even the submission. Like what was the
Because the illegal incursion into Libya definitely wasn't a peaceful act. But anyways,
right? But no, like here you have one of the most. You have Sun Moon, South Korea's leader. Like straight up microphone. This wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for President. He didn't say the United States of America.
he said President Trump.
He said President Trump.
Yeah, he gave him full credit.
But I think what gets me is that
North Korea said it. We wouldn't be talking. Not like the dude called him Rocket Man or Rocket
Little
Boy.
Rocket Man.
Rocket Man.
like Trump or not, even if, you know, a lot of people don't like Trump. Like what just happened. What happened is great. You know, left and right and blue and red and all this. Take all that aside. What happened was an amazing act of
Praise God.
right, and
Yeah.
people are. I think it's a pride thing, are unwilling to do that. You know, and it just I don't know. I think it's a great thing. I feel blessed to have been able to see it and participate, or be alive and see it.
But and, you know, it's that's what the American people voted for. That's why they voted for someone not a DC Beltway politician.
Yeah.
They voted for a guy that wrote The Art of the Deal. They voted for a guy that was a businessman. They voted for a guy that knew how to deal in deals. And what has he done in 17 months? I mean, the list, we could roll on the things that he has coordinated. He has negotiated. He's doing it with China now. He's done it with, he has acted on the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem, which the last 3 presidents have promised to do, that Congress has supported, that no one had the gumption to do. I mean, he has taken action after action. And again, like Travis said, whether you like him or not, you still got to look at, well, he got that done.
Well,
still don't like him. I don't like what he said. I don't like what he said on the bus. But you know what? He's making this country better.
So here you had, and I think all 3 of us would say that Secretary Mattis is a wise man.
Yes.
He's definitely well read.
Yes.
He's learned. He's experienced. He's made mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm sure, our friend Jason would definitely say that, like he doesn't have a perfect record, but we I think can all agree that for the most part, his level of wisdom is fairly high. Wisdom being not just having knowledge, but what you can do with that knowledge.
Right.
A few months ago, Secretary Mattis, behind a microphone, said, "I don't know if leaving the Iran deal is a good idea. Like, with the information that I have and what I understand, I don't see a better alternative at the second." That's not verbatim, that's in generalization. And Netanyahu, with his amazing PowerPoint presentation, and dude, like that was like there's a lot of people right now in the corporate world that need to watch that, not because of the content but the delivery. That was one of the best.
He did
amazing.
He did a PowerPoint presentation better than most businesses.
He's like blind clicking behind him, with a little flex.
As you'll see right behind you.
As it populates, and he's like, man, if you're ever someone that has to give a presentation and has to use audio visual, go watch Netanyahu. That dude's got it. Pretty impressive communicator. Made some revelations to the world. Mattis is now okay, based with that understanding, with these things that have come to light, we have vetted these. Yeah, the deal is not what we thought. This is not the impact that we need. President Trump comes out and says, it was a bad deal.
Yeah.
We're out. People are like, oh. Someone was like blowing me up the other day talking about, well, like, I hope you like higher gas prices. Like, dude, that's what you got out of that?
Yeah.
Like, you're pissed that it went from, I know we're in Texas, so like, we were at $2 and we're like approaching on $2.45 or something like that right now.
No, it's
you're,
not.
you're probably like 7.
No, you know, it's not the 4 to 5 that it was in 07, 08.
It's not. And
If
it's
it
like,
was, I'd rather pay that than have a nuke come out.
and that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, you're
Yeah.
talking about like the difference between $2.50 and $3.50 in gas prices versus nuclear fallout.
Yeah.
Like, come on now, like let's put things in perspective. But this need, you know, like I saw Roseanne Barr with Jimmy Kimmel. I saw a clip of this not too long ago, and you know, like everyone knows Roseanne Barr, pretty liberal person, very outspokenly liberal person.
Not a great singer.
Not a good singer.
No.
She is playing a role on television named after herself, to which she is a Trump supporter. And Jimmy Kimmel asks her about the conflict that she must have in playing someone that voted for President Trump versus someone with her conviction. And she very eloquently said, for her, because she's got that.
She's a little crass.
She's a little crass. Yeah. But she's just like, y'all have left, and she pointed to him, like, y'all have gone so far away that it's hard to follow you. And 2, it doesn't matter who I voted for. I don't want, and I believe the majority of Americans don't want the president to fail.
Right.
Like, you might want LeBron James to fail.
You may want the Caps not to go on to the.
You may not want the Caps to get past the weather.
Yeah.
You may not. It could happen. I want Stamkos.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago. You don't. The pilot in your plane may have cut you off and jumped in front of you at Starbucks, but you're not helping that dude doesn't freaking fly the plane.
Yeah.
But
No, like,
Can we just touch on Jimmy Kimmel real quick?
Yeah.
About how he's been this advocate of morality and women's rights.
the guy from
and
the Man Show.
the guy from the
Yeah.
Man Show.
bouncing titties.
Come on, man! Like, it blows my mind.
Girls on trampolines.
Girls
right?
on trampolines, chugging beers, doing street interviews at 2 a.m. and, you know, with bars and making harassing comments on TV, national TV.
That wasn't that long ago.
Blows my mind that is forgotten by.
It's almost like Stormy Daniels being an advocate for women's rights.
No.
and harassment.
But here's the thing. And no one that I have seen publicly, and if you're famous and I haven't followed you, my apologies. No one's called him out for what he said to girls coming out of bars at 2 a.m. on the bouncing trampoline stuff. But count how many jokes he's made about grabbing pussy.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, Mom. Totally said it.
my bad.
You said it.
I was making a quote, though.
You were.
Like, that's not in my regular vernacular. Unless I'm talking about a certain individual. Male individual.
Anyway,
But the...
waiting for the comments coming.
And there they go.
And in comes mom's text messages. But, like, tell Tony, shut up. I like his hair, but his mouth's got to go. No, it's this need for someone to fail. I will admit, when watching sports, and there's somebody that I've not enjoyed their behavior, Brad Marchand. You know, like, I love the Boston Bruins. I think they're a wonderful team.
Not even licking.
Not into that. And I see someone doing that. I remember when Claude Lemieux did it when he was, you know, like not licking, but his like bad plays, unsportsmanlike play when he was the Colorado Avalanche. Like, I didn't want to support that. Even though I was a huge Joe Sakic fan, Adam Foote fan. The amazing players, great hockey players. When you see someone that does something like that, you kind of want them to fail. but we're talking about a sports team.
Right.
When you have like a rival on an obstacle course in the Army, and you're like, you know, like that dude, you know, it's you and him are going for the honor graduate, and you want a better performance, and you see him slip on something, you're like, yeah. And when I like almost fell off the belly buster at airsoft school, and like I knew the dude that was like my main competition for like honor graduate, it was like,
Or if you're going for a promotion board, and you hope that guy going in before you or after you like salutes with the wrong hand.
yes,
Answers the
yes,
wrong part. Yeah.
yeah. Like there are moments in life where you hope someone doesn't perform to their peak.
Right.
You hope they fail. But we're talking about the leader of the free world. We're talking about the guy that, like everyone after the election said, has the power to push the button. Why would you want him to fail?
Yeah, it really does.
The logic behind
It's
it.
not even conceivable.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not. And it's great. It's like you have this wonderful thing that's happened. You have like a nation that's been divided. Like you lived in Korea, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like where you're with Ajimani, and she's old and she's squatting down there, and they talk about, you know, and you ask questions, how long have you been here? You know, like, were you affected by the war? You know, and you see that tear, you know, well up and start trickling, and she talks about having siblings that she knows are on the other side. And, you know, like, and they have no understanding or no idea or no news or comprehension of how their life has been. And they never will. They don't know if they died during the war. They don't know if they lived in a labor camp. They don't know if they just lived. They don't know what they've been told about each other. They have no idea. And, like, what a moment in history. What a moment in time. Take the credit away from it. Can we not celebrate that? Can we, like, I mean, you want to celebrate something, like, give God some credit. You know, like, give God some credit for, like, bringing people together.
The leader of North Korea is stepping across into South Korea. Right? Who just months ago had a soldier and he was shooting up the world as he
Swiss cheesing him.
Yeah.
Swiss, and gave an award for the guy that, like, he got the extra round.
Coming across. Now, no questions asked, gave up 3 prisoners. You know, there's been, who knows what he's telling people? Fine, he can tell them whatever he wants. But the reality is, on the world stage, we see him, right now he's saying some stuff or whatever, and now it's being.
It's the art of the deal. It's the art of the deal. It's
that could be trying to save some face. That could be who knows whatever, right? But he's got his master, right? China, even recognized and say, "Hey, good job. This is the way you want to go, right?" Yeah. And there's no doubt, and that everyone has said that the president's actions, the president's squeezing on China, all that stuff, is all affected this, right? I don't care what you say about the guy. He knows. I mean, he is smart and he knows what it takes to negotiate and compromise. We are now having high-level talks with China, and he's even said, and he's been critiqued by, possibly saying something about Putin, even calling Putin to congratulate him on winning the re-election or whatever it was. The media is like, how could you do that? It's like, don't you want us to kind of get along? Isn't the point? Because with North Korea, you were complaining, we were going to get the Third World War because we weren't getting along. I was calling them names. Now, Putin, I'm trying to negotiate, get along with him, and all of a sudden I'm being critiqued for that. You can't win for losing.
Right.
You can't. There's no winning strategy.
Like the craziest thing is we have, and I'm saying this as a very invested third party. I'm not neutral. I'm very invested third party. We have all this talk about collusion. If they're not talking about Stormy Daniels, they're talking about like the status of like the Mueller investigation or whatever, right? But they're talking about General Flynn. They're talking about Jared Kushner. They're talking about whoever they can in terms of this collusion. Yet we had a president on camera, mic'd up, leaned in and said, "Hey, after the election, I'm gonna have a lot more liberty for you and I to do some things."
Yeah.
Like, no one says a word about it. Like, that's collusion. Like,
at the end,
that would be if that was Mueller investigating that. You'd have a smoking gun.
Right.
You have a president, a presidential candidate, because he was a candidate at the time as well as an incumbent, talking to a foreign leader about something post-election and his ability to influence it. Like, no better definition of collusion. If that was Robert Mueller's charge and it was a, boom, smoking gun. Yeah, not a word. We need to recognize the accomplishments, take the credit away, take the man away, and be like, okay, we are doing some good things. America's economy's in an amazing position. Unemployment's at amazing levels. And when I say amazing, I mean amazing low. You know, pick any demographic.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Pick any.
well, what came out the other day? That right now there are enough jobs for everyone that's unemployed. For the first time ever in the history of the country.
Where's the Occupy Wall Street people right now?
Right.
Yeah, they're working. the drum circles, are not there. You know, and you know, it's sad because we just saw the best peace thing, like Travis just said, that we could ever imagine would happen in our lifetime. I'm so excited that my kids are going to remember. They're going to remember that. My kids are old enough that they're going to remember this.
And you know what I predict? You heard it here first. It's going on. I predict right after this, we're going to start seeing movement on our end. I think we're going to start seeing movement on our end because they realize, holy crap, this is not an apologist and I mean, look, we all know better than probably most people watching this. They just haven't been there, haven't experienced it. Not that anyone that has probably knows this, but we know that and this is not anything on a faith or the people, but in the Muslim world, and I've had good friends of mine that are from Syria tell me the same thing, that they see kindness as weakness. That is just the culture. If you don't rule with an iron fist, if you're not hard on them, in our culture in Western society, we see kindness as a nice thing, and you can get influenced by that. In the Middle East, it is seen as if you're not being strict or authoritarian, which is why dictators really do well there, then it is seen as that you're weak, right? And I think my prediction is that before the end of 2019, and probably not well before that, but no later than that, we are going to see major movement in the type of progress we've seen in North Korea. We're going to see it. There's going to be something. Because the world's looking at it, going, okay, this guy, and that's what makes him so effective. Is like he's not predictable. There's no lobbyists. There's no this. Like they don't know what he's going to do or say, or what he's going to tweet. And I mean, what he's done with Jerusalem already. You know what he's done with the the MS-13.
Yeah.
He recently came out and said that he called them animals, and of course the left went after him and said, "Oh, he's talking about all people from
illegal aliens or whatever." Yeah.
And he came out today and tweeted, "I'm going to call them animals, and I'll always call them animals."
Yeah. No, they're macheting people.
Right. I want to switch on other topics, so yeah. We can. And Travis, you may know this guy Tim Kennedy.
Heard of him?
Yeah. He thinks he's hot or something. He's got big abs. I don't know what it is. Apparently, he fights a little bit and can shoot. But no. But seriously, Tim's a good friend of ours. He's been on the show, of course. But he just waterboarded himself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw.
Well, he didn't do it himself.
Well, he didn't do it himself. It was like he was like
volunteered for it.
He volunteered for it.
Someone did it to him.
Yes, for a long time.
32
minutes. You don't have a dinner, did you? Maybe. But maybe. But it's went viral. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
With Fox and stuff. What is your thoughts on that? On a person voluntarily, regardless of your special forces, UFC fighter, all that kind of stuff, but just saying, put me in there, tilt me back a little bit.
Not a little bit. It was per the book.
Per the policy, per the regulation.
We had the right way to tell, with the right angle, and we used the bucket, and the bucket wasn't effective enough that we went to direct mainlining water.
What have you seen? What have you heard on that? What are your thoughts?
Saw a little bit of the video on y'all's page, and thoughts on it are, here's a guy that's willing to do this to himself. It is an effective tool. It can be an effective tool. But at the end of the day, I think it proves that you're not going to kill anyone doing it. And having been through some training in this realm when I was in the military, it's a very effective tool, and I have no problem with it being used whatsoever.
So in the video, in that session, we'll call it, Tim says, I'm not afraid of water.
Right.
You are a recon unit. Part of the pipeline for you of training for you to do that is you spend some time in water. Mm-hmm. You guys get in there in your little nut to butt moments of treading water, and you create the little vortex of water love there, right?
Beehive.
You call it the beehive because you're busy little bees in the water.
Bees.
Little bees, you all swarm together, and have you ingested water?
Oh yeah, I've had shallow water blackouts and multiple times.
Members of people in the training have probably panicked and sought to get themselves to a higher position above the water and pulled other people down.
Absolutely.
And that is part of training, right?
Right.
One of the things that Tim said is he's not afraid of water, so that this isn't going to be that effective to him. Mm-hmm. He was upfront about that. A lot of people think that this is torture. It's not torture per se. It's a technique.
Okay.
And one of the things that makes it effective is you, being someone that's trained in water, you don't have the level of fear of water that other people might have. Right. If you take someone from the desert with minimal water exposure, because you spent some time in the Middle East, correct?
Yes.
I spent some time in the Middle East. Did you spend time? I think I did. Did you see a lot of people swimming on the beaches?
There's a big beach. There's a big beach. Can never find the water.
But did you ever have someone say, "Hey, we should go hit the water and have a good time"?
No.
No. Outside of your small circle of teammates, right? Right.
Yeah.
No, one of the reasons that this is an effective tool is you're introducing people to something that they're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
How many showers did you encounter organically in homes that you conducted operations? Perhaps a raid or something like that. Did you come across a lot of showers?
No.
Yeah. So not a lot of water coming above onto someone's head to cleanse themselves. Typically using basins, washing an appendage at a time, washing a body part at a time out of a basin, right? I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of people using a little hose from a spigot over, the hole, and but not a lot of people submersing themselves in water to cleanse themselves. And the reason I'm saying this and utilizing your witness, your testimony on this, is because people are calling it torture, but what they're failing to understand is you're taking someone that's completely unfamiliar with water. I would say the average American is extremely familiar with water. I'd say the average Westerner is fairly familiar with water in terms of recreational. I know my little niece, she lives over in Liverpool. Shout out to, I hope you don't watch this, Jamie. Sue, if you're watching, it's totally awesome. But, we met with them and our families, and my niece and my sister and her husband and my wife and daughters. We went to a water park last year. And Scarlett, my youngest, was talking to her cousin, they're about the same age, who lives in Liverpool, and it's hey, how many water parks do you have there? And Jamie's, my niece's face going what, like this? The beach, the wave pool, the slides and stuff, and it's no, they don't have that out in the corners. And I'm thinking right now, within a 20-mile or say a 50-mile radius, we probably have 3, maybe 4, water parks, right?
It's taking someone, trying to get to is taking someone out of element is enough to cause shock. Take someone from Siberia that's living up in Russia or up in the Middle East, they walk around in the heat, they would probably consider that torture. Taking someone from there and put them in the snow and the deep freeze, they're going to consider it.
So here's an example. So I went through SEER school, right? And what we learned is one of the most effective tools of human intelligence gathering on Americans is known as the soft approach. It's showing kindness. Like you were talking about kindness and weakness. when someone shows us kindness in Western culture,
culture.
it softens us,
Right.
right? And in the Mideast, that doesn't have the same effect. It actually is an opposite effect whenever you're gathering human intelligence. So along your point, I think where you're going with this is that you find what works culturally in different areas, and you do that. And it's not anything personal. It's a means to an end. We have to get this information so that we don't have to send more guys back in a bag. And to me, it's worth it. If we make someone uncomfortable in a controlled environment to gather intelligence, because that's effective on them, we need to do so. If we were to be captured, we would more than likely be given a different interrogation technique because it would work on us. And that's what we have to do. That's what's going to be done across the board.
And we see, what you hit on is a great thing we see in the law enforcement, the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Right?
No, we play it all the time.
Right. We do it in everyday life. Sometimes we're negotiating with somebody. Like, I'll be good, you do that. You know, my wife.
We do it as parents.
My wife. Exactly. We do it when buying a car or a house or something like that. My wife and I be like, okay, I'll be nice. Let's see who the guy, the seller, the salesman sucks up to, right? And that kind of stuff.
No, like the.
Yeah, we do this.
Well, one of the things that we struggle with, I think, as a society is we are so kind, we are so nice, that anything that we think is, like, out there, like, I watched this thing earlier today about, and it was heartbreaking because I watched these girls and they were all crying, not all of them, but a lot of them were crying, and they were crying because they worked hard to become cheerleaders, and because a parent complained, they're no longer saying no to anyone that wants to be a cheerleader. And these girls are like, wait a second, like, I just worked my butt off for 18 months training to learn these stunts, to do all this stuff, to memorize and go through all this stuff so that I can be a cheerleader. And you're saying, like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, like, if we're too nice, we're too soft as a society, we need to harden up. And if you think that was torture, you are sadly mistaken. You don't understand what torture is.
So let me ask you real quick. So was there anything enlightening to Tim? I mean, had he had been through this before? I mean, what did he come away? I mean, did he have any epiphany coming out of this event that he did?
No.
No.
No, like
he described it very well of kind of what the mental effects of what it does and what the illusion it did, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean he was in no danger.
Right.
We started off being fairly polite about it, kind of joking. It was, and then, you know, Doc Simpson showed up and was like, okay, we got him warmed up. Let's actually get down to, like, hard. Let's really do it.
Right.
And, you know, and we, like, straight up, like, look at some of the time hacks on the amount of time that he was under the hose. Like, you can't stop water from going up your nose.
Right.
Or you can't stop it from pooling up.
Back.
You can't stop it from being ingested. You can't stop it from going in your ocular cavities. You can't stop it, period. Like, people are like, well, he can just hold his breath. Like, holding your breath has nothing to do with stopping water from entering your body. Like, if you think that, well, you might want to hit biology. You might want to hit anatomy. Like, it does up. But what he did is he was able to answer all the questions. It didn't change his opinion on anything. And if all goes according to plan, he's demonstrating that on a celebrity right now,
Right.
as we speak.
You know, there's an interesting experience I had in particular with what we're talking about. When I went through SEER school, I was fortunate enough to go through the training with what would have been the head doctor of that SEER school. He couldn't be the head medical officer for that school until he completed the course. So I went through all of this in all the phases of SEER school with the future medical doctor of SEER school. And they gave him a little bit of extra attention.
Yeah.
And part of that extra attention was he was waterboarded. So here we have the future medical officer of SEER school being waterboarded. He's a doctor, so he knows what's happening. He's willing to do so. Did it. for multiple reasons. And it was an experience. I mean, it was something that here we are 13, 14 years later talking about, but I felt like that's an interesting thing, that's a requirement of a medical officer to take over the training.
So he knows what they're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not ripping fingernails out with pliers or putting a drill through your hand or anything like that. Right? There's no lasting effect. It is introducing a fear and a panic
Yes.
of what you think may happen. And that is effective enough without actually taking the action.
No, and I'll take you a step further. So the fear of death, right? There's a famous politician in America, now a political pundit, that discharged a weapon next to someone's head, to scare them into thinking that, he had intent, so that he could find out information about bombs that were in place that would affect his men. It was enough of a fear was created that person gave up the information. They were able to find the devices and save hundreds of lives, right? Was that dude endangered in any way? No, right? But society is saying, no, like that guy did the wrong thing, you can't do that. Right. And I say I raise you one because I understand water, I understand drowning. It is a scary, scary thing. So is being choked out by Chad Roadshow.
Yeah, I imagine.
Hey, did I ever tell you the story about the skink choke that Chad Roadshow did on me? Have you ever heard that in jiu-jitsu? The skink choke? Yeah. So I was, and still am a white belt, and Chad was teaching a seminar, and he let me come to it. And part of the agreement was I'd get to roll with Chad one time, while we were rotations. So Chad gets me in a triangle and farts in my face.
I thought it might
and I start freaking out or whatever and tap. And he sits up and he goes, "That's the stink choke," and then gets off and moves on to someone else. I'm sorry, I know we were going down there, but I just had to.
Yeah, well, there you go. You never know what you're going to get.
Set up to Chad and
Chad the robot.
No, and I gotta was he cutting weight?
No.
Because I gotta tell you, when Chad cuts weight,
Lots of fiber.
Dude, I've never experienced anything like that.
You never know what you're going to get here when we're all together. That's
But-
all I'm going to say.
The
I want to hit on one more. I want to transition. A nice
just quickly. Graduated high school, Anchorage, Alaska. Mandatory that everyone could swim the length of the pool because there was so much water in Alaska that the government felt that if you could swim the length of the pool, you had a better chance of survival because there's a high percentage chance that if something was to happen to you, it would involve water. I was taught at a very early age, if you drown, you can be resuscitated. I became a Canadian lifeguard in Canada. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what it was like. The Royal Canadian something. There's kind of like the American Red Cross. I became an American Red Cross lifeguard, to which we got similar criteria in terms of reviving someone. In military training, there was a couple of training things that I did, schools, etc., that involved swimming, and there we had this thing going to see the wizard, which meant someone lost consciousness, went under, and drowned. I know,
which happens in every school, army school class in Canada.
Period.
Yes.
Everyone. And I know that a person can be revived. I know in Alaska and northern Canada in cooler water climates, the amount of time that you have is longer because of the water temperature and the cooling of the body core temperature. Of course, there's going to be some brain damage due to lack of oxygen. But, I know that you can be revived. Right. So, take that away. You're just making someone uncomfortable. Ask some more questions. I transition. I don't think it's torture. I agree with Tim.
Well, we're going to talk about is the reason. That's how I would say it. The reason Tim did this, right, was to prove to the American people that were watching the congressional hearings of Haspel, going through for possible to be the possible director of the CIA. There's always questions. They didn't do it of her predecessor, but they did it of her because of her long-term 30-plus year employment stuff. And that was the reason why he did it. Right? It was just, it was like, look, you guys keep making a big deal out of this. It's not healthy. So now we've seen today a woman break yet another glass ceiling, a woman, and she was nominated today as the first female director of the CIA. And not just nominated, granted, it kind of went mostly along party lines, 54 to 45, I think that the vote was. 2 Republicans voted against her, but 6 abstained, 1 or 2, and like 6 Democrats voted for her. But she came with a backing of like all of her predecessors, all of her previous supervisors across the entire Obama administration. Everyone that's known her said you could not have picked a better person.
You go back another administration.
Probably back to Bush administration. And it should have even been a 100-0, but right. But you had all these people that had, and again, it's the same thing with Pompeo. They voted unanimously to make him the CIA director last year, and he went
up 6-6.
oh,
Well, I don't know.
And even after
I don't know if you have to
negotiating-
deal with international issues.
and even after negotiating, going to North Korea, we're negotiating the release of 3 hostages. Everything, they were still swamped again. Why? Because it was a Trump.
Yeah.
So big congrats to her. Become the first, female director of the CIA. It's not an all man's world. It's not she has shown that she can be an operator in the intelligence community for the benefit of this country, and now going to do it for the entire, the most premier agency.
The part that blows my mind about this whole process, and I'm glad you brought this up. Not too
I wonder
long.
if the View's going to celebrate that tomorrow.
Well, and here, and I'm
Yes.
follow this though. Not too long ago, Travis and I watched Zero Dark Thirty. Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
One of the most celebrated, most accomplished actresses in Hollywood, right? Like, to say she's an A-lister is like not giving her the credit that she deserves.
She's nominated.
She's
just last
phenomenal. I mean, how many awards has she been up for? The hell, Zero Dark Thirty.
She was nominated for Molly's Game this year.
Yeah, which Molly's Game is phenomenal. Yeah, we just watched it. She played a character, a real character, of a CIA field agent
Who I hear is also redheaded.
who could be redheaded, and played a major role in the tracking, identifying, and eventual raid on Osama bin Laden. Like,
The mastermind behind the greatest attacks ever, the most horrific attacks ever on this country.
I mean,
The
like,
cause of the last 17 years of war, right? Essentially the initiator of all that.
why did they not send iTunes vouchers to every voting senator, that would be all 100 of them, and say, why don't you watch Zero Dark 30, a very liberal Hollywood-made movie about a woman in a field doing great things and what they can accomplish,
And pretty much a woman that came right out of college.
and then said, okay, now go listen to her confirmation. She should have been 100-0.
Yeah.
She's the best qualified person for the job. All the people before her, all the people behind her. I mean, to have the endorsement of your peers is amazing.
Right. I don't remember. Was it something that she's like only the first or maybe the second director or nominated director to ever actually be a field agent?
No, like, I mean,
I think it was something that she wasn't a political appointee.
No.
She was in the field.
She's a
executing
legit
out
worker.
there. Right.
She's a worker.
And that was a big deal. Like, she's been there. She knows what they're going through. Like, she's not a politician.
No, she's let them watch Zero Dark 30, say, okay, even though that's not her, that's what she did, that's who she is as a person, morally, those people look pretty parallel, and say, now go listen to the confirmation hearing and make a bing, yay.
Yeah.
Like, how, and the
And
fact,
I gotta say, tying it back to Tim, the lady, I remember her name in the last season 3 of Honey Hitler. When I first started seeing it, I thought that was her. I was like, I wonder if that's that chick from Zero Dark 30. I'm like, she's kind of redheadish, and she came from that world, and I did some research on her. But anyways, it's like saying, there's a lot of women in that industry.
So
when you talk about privilege and ceilings,
the impressive woman on Hunting Hitler might not have been the subject of Zero Dark 30. However, if you did research on her, you know that she is exactly that.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
And
maybe
the fact that we're having this
maybe
conversation,
women are actually better cut out to do that kind of work because they're more attention to detail and more analytical. I don't know. I'm not being sexist. I'm not saying, but I mean, I know there's a large number of females, not because they're females, not because they have to have a quota of females, but because they're
good. And when are we going to start having a conversation of qualification versus gender?
Or any other demographic. Qualification versus any other demographic.
Qualification versus anything. Like, hey, this person's good for the job. I shout out to a Tomahawk brother that, posted something. He's an LAPD officer. I'm going to keep his name, on the DL, but he knows who I'm talking about. He's at LAPD. And at the Los Angeles Police Department right now are looking at a new chief, and they have 3 front runners. And they're like, look at the diversity of the candidates for this job to be the LAPD commissioner. It's like, hey, let's not look at the diversity. Let's look at the qualifications.
Right.
Yeah. Who cares what the person looks like? I mean, because I got to tell you, Lyle Lovett, he ain't pretty, but he makes good music.
Right.
Roy Orbison, ugly dude, great music. Bob Seger, ugly as sin, great music. Shinedown, no offense, not the prettiest boys.
Most members of the Rolling Stones.
Let me just say on this point, on a personal note, there's one pilot that saved my life more than any other pilot overseas. Female pilot. Dropped ordnance for us. Came off station to help us multiple times, show of force. Best pilot I ever communicated with, worked with, being a ground unit, speaking to air.
Right.
My fiance's first cousin, retired lieutenant colonel, fighter pilot, female. Shout out to Major Lisa Jasper.
Shoot, Ranger Jasper. Let's just call her
my husband, my company, my platoon company and battalion commander. He groomed me. The standards there, qualified, you did it, should be judged on that.
Yeah. Pilot of the Southwest. Fuck, right? One of the first fighter pilots there was.
Right.
And handle that on the radio and everything like a master.
But you know what she's not going to get?
A movie.
Not
Not going to get a Sully?
No, she ain't getting no Sully. No Meryl Streep playing her.
But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is all of this, to me,
Sully got Tom Hanks.
We're going an hour and a half, and we're getting a lot of topics. But I guess what gets us on me, and I've always been an outspoken critic of this, but this is all different flavors of affirmative action. And to me, affirmative action is the most racist,
it's institutional racism
thing there's ever been. For everyone in this, not this country, but this world, looks at Dr. Martin Luther King as the standard bearer against racism and for civil, and the standard bearer for civil rights and equality. Who said, right, one of those famous quotes of his is about being judged not by the color of your skin, right? And that's exactly what affirmative action does. It judges you by the color of your skin. And says, well, because you're this, we're just talking race, of course, but it's in anything. It could be in gender. It could be in anything else. Because of this attribute about you, well, then you get this. And you get that. You're not being judged on the quality of you merit-based performance, essentially. So it doesn't matter if it's teachers. It doesn't matter if it is teachers with tenure. It doesn't matter if it's how many police officers we need to hire into the force. It doesn't matter if who's going to be selected as the director. It should be purely on merit. Anything that resembles, and the biggest violation of it is the number of applicants that are accepted into a university, because that is the biggest violation or the biggest use of affirmative action.
I mean, Shapiro talks about that.
It should be, that is the ultimate sign of racism across whether it's racism
100%.
against white people, black people, women, it doesn't matter, or Muslims, whatever it is, or Christians. That it should be what everyone in this country and world stands. And we should not have anything like that. Does that mean that there's not going to be bias and that kind of stuff? No, there probably will be. But man, in today's social media, instant news, it can happen and go around the world days. Nobody's going to get away with much anymore. Right? This isn't. If you're not in front of a camera, this shit can happen. Look, was there pedophiles and priests abusing children and pedophiles roaming streets and snatching kids off back in the 40s, 50s? You would absolutely bet there was. It just wasn't a camera. Nowadays, we have the ability to publicize that on moments' notice. Right? So that should not be. So yes, affirmative action, it may have had a time and place. This is my personal opinion. Like a union may have had a time and place. I'm not in favor of those laws. But in today's time, when everyone is educated, everyone is informed, and everyone can inform the entire world themselves as an individual, you don't need that. It's not. My opinion.
I absolutely, I absolutely echo that, and I hope, and my prayer for my children is that they are adjudicated on their performance, their abilities, and their potential, and that's it. My
Not
daughter
everyone can be a cheerleader.
No, not everyone can be a cheerleader. If my daughter wants to be something and she works hard enough and she has the ability to do it, and awesome.
We know, right?
If Simon Cowell gets on and says, "Hey, you don't have what it takes," sorry.
I'm sure we see this. I'm sure you see this in the Royal Marines. I know we see it in the Army, whether it's Force Recon or Delta, or even we used to have a saying back in the ancient days, right? It's called a CID, not a free ID.
Yeah.
Right. You had to earn it, and by earning it, made it that much more valuable when you got it. Right. And just like when you were private and you got an AM or an Archon, right? As a young soldier, or whatever that equivalent is in the Marines, but you get this recognition. You did something, and you got recognized. And the pride you had, this and that, you called home a mom and dad, all stuff. But then you see like some dumb training event, and you see that some guy from a staff position did it, or some whether an enlisted officer, then you really know they didn't do crap. It's because they have the rank for it. And wow, this medal didn't really mean a lot, right? Or this didn't pull as much. I think it's the same thing. In Delta, they commonly fail you one time to see how bad you want to. Are you going to go through all this again, through selection and everything? And SF2, not just Delta, we can back it down and say, in Special Forces people, they may fail you. Are you going to come back and try again? Right? I know they do that with SEALs too. How bad
you wanted recon school twice.
So when you earn it,
How bad you want it?
right, when you earn it, you're like, man,
Yeah.
you know what you have to do to get it.
Yeah.
And if you see people start getting handed that, you just
How bad you want it?
yeah. And so if you don't get it, you're like, I got to try harder. Maybe it wasn't meant for me. Maybe I got to do something else.
Yeah.
Eagle Scouts, Boy Scouts, a lot of Boy Scouts. Not a lot of Eagle Scouts. You got to work hard to be an Eagle Scout. There's a ton of things you got to go through. There's a number of gates you have to pass. I'm just a scoutmaster. I work with scouts. I've had some scouts just age out. And I wish I would have done a lot of hindsight 2020. I wish I would have done this one. I wish I would have did those things and not blown them off and that kind of stuff. Because when they see their peers get Eagle Scout and get this recognition that actually can lead to
Affect their lives.
We see people that are in the cabinet of the government be noted that they were Eagle Scouts, right?
We have more than one right now.
We remember, right? And that's how, whether they're Secretary of Defense or this and that guy was also an Eagle Scout. You go in the military, you get one or two ranks. I don't remember what they call it.
You get two.
Right? Because you're an Eagle Scout.
You get right to E3.
But you tried hard. Now, is there any shame in being a Boy Scout? And not,
Like
right? And
all services.
and not getting it? No. Is there any shame in being in the military and maybe not being a special tier 1 operator, or maybe not being a distinguished honor grad and you pass a really hard school? No, you should be proud of it, right? But the person that did it is also going to be proud of that and know a little bit like, wow, man, I tried. I studied every night. I studied my JMPIs and stuff. I graduated distinguished honor out of Jump Master School because I worked, I gave it 110%. And the other guy that graduated Jump Master School, cool, I graduated Jump Master School. That's a big accomplishment. Or I went through airborne school. That's awesome. Right? Maybe I wasn't at the top, but there can only be one. There can only be one valedictorian.
There can only be one.
You graduated bachelor's, what do they say, right? Doctor, graduated bottom of class, still a doctor.
Okay, and C's get degrees.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I keep
All right. Well, hey, we've gone deep tonight. So thanks for tuning in.
Any for our guests, Travis, anything you want to close out?
No, thanks for having me. It was great conversation. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. We went deep tonight. Appreciate everyone bearing with us. Tune in to us on Twitter at Toby Nunn for me, at Recon Sniper USMC for Travis the Cox, at Boo Hammer for Boo Hammer, aka Stu.
That's it.
But please follow us. Our Facebook is still being censored. I think it's still being on the.
We are over 500 likes.
Yeah, that.
But we have like 550 followers.
Right? It makes no sense. Like,
yeah, the stars are not aligned.
Facebook. But follow us on the Periscope, all the other places, YouTube. Please subscribe to iTunes. But follow us, like us, do all that. Check out Enlisted 9 Fight Company. Wonderful sponsors.
Right there. Yeah.
I heard 511's pretty good too. Check them out. But everyone that supports the show, big shout out to
thank you very much. Yeah.
the people that subscribe and do stuff. Thanks for tuning in. We got some great guests lined up. We're going to be talking to the founders of Centurion Military Alliance in the next couple of weeks, which is pretty exciting stuff. They do great stuff for transitioning veterans, and so we're pretty psyched to have people that are on the front lines really helping where it matters. And I think that's like one of the biggest things. We've got something coming out on the Chive TV.
Yeah, the Chive.
Thanks to UV Vodka, a veteran-owned company, an Air Force veteran started that. UV Vodka, so look forward to that with the Chive. And we got a bunch of cool stuff on the horizon. And it's awesome to be part of it. But tune in, follow. And thanks so much for bearing with us.
Tune in next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, here on Stu and the Nut. Thanks a lot, Travis, for joining us tonight, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Oh, hey, Fire and Ice Pizza, always on time.
It's back there. I don't know if you can see it, but we got some Fire and Ice Pizza and wings. They treat us right. And if you're in the Austin, Texas, northern Austin area, Georgetown area, you can't go wrong. Absolutely. All right, everybody, you have a good night, and we'll see you next Tuesday evening.
Get after it, man.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Men Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we've enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthemen.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, Bluehammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.